Hey everybody, welcome back to another development video, and without further ado, let's just jump right into this devlog for Project 78. Alright, we're getting better with the timing, that's good. So, if the last video was about sculpting, this video is about the texture painting. So, that was really the first time I had ever texture painted a character, which you're probably going to tell. But I was surprised by how much fun I had doing this. Granted, I had looked at a couple of online videos and tutorials on how to properly texture paint skin tones and basically human color and not make them look like they're part of the Blue Man Group. And what I thought was interesting above all else was that there are kind of traces of the three primary colors in the human face. You just have to know where to put which colors in which spots. So that was kind of a fun attempt at it, which you're looking at right now. So you'll see me put a little bit of yellow in the spots where you're supposed to have fat deposits, a little bit of red where there's supposed to be more blood at the surface, blue if there's like alleged stubble or anything like that. And if you're looking at the video right now, you're going to see that I'm not putting any of those colors on at the moment. What I'm doing instead is I'm doing something that I actually took from a video. I can't remember the name of the channel. I'll try to find them and put the link to that video in the description. But what they recommended and what they've done for their own style, and I kind of wanted to do like a variation of it for my own, is they basically baked an ambient occlusion node from the character, made that an image, and then they used whatever color was in the ambient occlusion as like their color palette. So when they texture painted, it was actually colors that the character was illuminating based off of specific lighting. So that's where a lot of the grays and a lot of the lighter tones come from. Just in case you were curious about that. And you're going to find out in the future. I'll explain a little bit more when it gets closer why this will change. But for the time being, this was my first attempt and my first whack at just trying to paint something that looked even closely like a human. And like I said in the last video, I think this is where the character really came to life, because before there was a possibility that, you know, maybe this was a human or a character or, you know, a gray alien pulling it off really, really well. But this is where it really started to feel like, okay, I've got a character here. Even if the proportions are a little bit off, like I still can't get over just how strange the feet look to me. But at the same time, it's a stylized character. Excuse me, it's a stylized character. So I kind of allowed myself to take some liberties with this character in general for that reason, and additionally for the sole reason that this is my first ever character. So of course things are going to be off, and of course things are going to be quote-unquote wrong. But that's kind of the art of growth and development, right? You get to do things that aren't always perfect, and that's the fun part. And this is me kind of learning how to do that. So, you know, I started thinking with this texture paint, you know, maybe I put some of the darker tones in spots where I want to notice muscle definition more. Like you can see kind of in the temples of the character and in the cheeks that I tried to add dimples. I tried to make it a little bit more angular and give off that appearance, because what you're seeing right now too is the retopologized version of the character. And here's the yellow and the reds and stuff, and it'll make a kind of quite a bit of difference over time. But for those who don't know, when you sculpt a character, you have so many data points, like I said before, that if you're not careful, if you try to animate that, when you render it, your computer can crash because of how much it has to process. So what you do is you take a bunch of planes, put those over your sculpture, and basically re-sculpt the character with less voxels. And that process is called retopology. And sometimes it can kind of take away some details and make it a little bit more smoothed out, potentially to a fault. So you'll notice this version of the character is not as highly detailed as the sculpture, but I kind of like that because it allowed, number one, it allowed the character to look younger. I think the problem that I had with the sculpture is I put so much detail in there that it looked like the character was older than he actually was. So being able to just take the retopologized version made him basically have less wrinkles, his face looked a little bit more lifted, he looked younger, he looks younger. And plus, it also let me kind of play with using texture paint for details more. And I think that was actually really beneficial. And granted, you're still going to see some flaws, or at least flaws that I noticed that drive me nuts. Like some of the texture paint in some spots, and the ears especially, I feel like are kind of a sore spot. Because I don't know what I was thinking with with the way that those were designed. By the way, this is Tiny Eye. This is an add-on that I used to generate eyes. I fixed this so he's not, possessed for the entirety of the video. But I also didn't go back to change the ears because I knew with the character design, he was going to have a lot of hair. He's essentially got something of like a really sloppy Bieber cut. He has early Justin Bieber hair. And if you can think of that hair off the top of your head, you know that with that hairstyle, the ears don't really matter. So, that was kind of something that I allowed myself to have grace with. But aside from that, this was honestly a really, really cool experience. And like I kind of alluded to before, you'll find out in future videos why I had to scrap this texture paint as much as I would love to keep it. And in its own way, I will keep it, but I'll explain later on why I had to get rid of it. But yeah, it was a bummer, but for a learning experience and for my first time ever texture painting a character, I'm actually pretty happy with this. And again, this whole process has been about learning the art of imperfection and allowing things to be how they are, instead of waiting and trying to perfect my craft over years and decades until, I feel ready enough to do it, to just actually go on and do it. And this is what we're looking at. This is the retopologized texture painted version versus the original sculpted version. And you can see that there's quite a bit of difference, but we are adding more and more to it over time, and it's becoming more and more exciting to me, which, by the way, if you want to see these time lapses not sped up, or if you want to see concept art that I've used in the past as kind of an inspiration or a springboard, or if you want to see some other stuff I do, like, unpublished video essays, or even black and white street photography that I've done in the past, feel free to join me on my Patreon, where you can get all of that and then some. Really what I'd like to do is I'd like to make this and my other YouTube channel the 20%, while the Patreon is the other 80%. Anyways, that's my shameless plug for the video. Thanks for supporting this. It really does mean a lot to me that you take the time to watch it, and I will see you in the next one.